This video will explain exactly how the tough call system works. Here we have a slash by Alex Pietrangelo on Leon Draisaitl from last night. It's a giant two-hander, big overhead swing, well away from the play. And we're sitting here debating whether or not he'll even get a fine. Probably not even a suspension, let alone anything. We shouldn't be debating whether this is anything or nothing. We should be debating how long. And I'm going to take you back to some examples of slashes that have gone by to show you how my system would make this without a doubt the easiest call the Department of Player Safety could make. Here's a slash by Ryan Hartman on Victor Arvidsson. It was called a 2-minute minor on the play and nothing followed from the Department of Player Safety. It was right on the hand where the glove separates from the shoulder pad. Very vulnerable area. Should have been probably a 5-minute major and possibly a fine. Here's a slash by Pat Maroon from the Stanley Cup final last year. Just two-hand whacks Manson in the calf. Nothing from player safety on this one. Should have been at least a minimum of a fine, and to me, because of force and situation, it probably should have been in the suspension category, which would have put it in my automatic 6 to 10 game suspension category. Because it was targeted to the leg, it would be the minimum 6 games. It wouldn't be any more than that, but it would definitely be acknowledged by the Department of Player Safety in my world. Sergachev on bunting. Away from the play, targeted to the wrist. This was a fine by the NHL's Department of Player Safety. To me, because of how far removed it was from any play going on, and because it was targeted to the wrist, that's again a minimum 6 game suspension. But because of the force and the lack of giant backswing, I'm giving it 6 games, minimum. Here's a Jamie Benn slash away from the play. Right to the wrist. This was in the playoffs last year. Directly targeting the wrist, away from the play, nothing to do with hockey. Again, because of the lack of force, but because it was targeting the hands, that's a minimum 6 game suspension in the tough call universe. Here's the Ryan Hartman slash on Anderson. He goes way out of his way to do this after the whistle, and he targets the wrist. So because it's so far removed from the play, and because there was a pretty significant backswing, and the force of this slash was pretty great, that would bump it up from the minimum 6 games into the 8 game category. I would give him 8 or 9 games here. The Department of Player Safety gave him a fine. I would give him 8 or 9 games. Think about that. And here's the Tavares slash on Desharnais. This was obviously only fined by the NHL's Department of Player Safety, if you remember. But because of the backswing, the time he had to think about it, and the force and the targeting of the wrist, again, I put this up more with the slash by Hartman on Anderson. I gave it 8 games. So now we have a precedent set. Serious slashes are minimum 6 to 10 games. And anything targeting the wrist or the hand or the arm is generally up in the upper echelon of that category. And anything that's way away from the play definitely puts it up to the top of that category. So now, with that context, watch this play. What would you automatically expect to be the outcome of this from a disciplinary standpoint? We have a slash that's way out of the play, we have a giant backswing, and we have targeting in the arm. Without a doubt, this would be a minimum 6 game suspension, without a doubt, and you're probably thinking it's going to be in the upper part of that suspension category. There's not a doubt in our mind that there's going to be a long suspension here. It's just a matter of how much. And instead, we're sitting here wondering if he'll only get the same as someone who's getting an automatic penalty for an instigator of 1 game. The fact that that's even a conversation is an absolute joke.